How many of you guys have experienced some sort of injury while playing a sport? Well, today I'll be talking about 3 specific injuries that occur during sports, and it is shoulder injuries, knee injuries, and head injuries. So with a knee injury, you can tear multiple ligaments such as the ACL, MCL, LCL, and meniscus. Some ways that you can tear them is by getting your leg caught up in a bunch of clutter underneath you, or just by simply jumping up and landing very hard down underneath. Sprains are some of the most common. Between 30 and 65% of the knee injuries are sprains. And NCAA wrestling alone had 65% surgery-worthy knee injuries. Some common sports that knee injuries occur in are football, wrestling, and basketball, but they happen in almost every major sport. With shoulder injuries, the anatomy of a shoulder is very complex, and it is very easy to damage or hurt your shoulder. Some common injuries with the shoulder are torn rotator cuff, labrum tear, broken collarbone, and a dislocation of the joint. A lot of this happens by the overuse of your shoulder, over exerting force through your shoulder or having force come through your shoulder, like improper tackling or changing up your arm slot while playing baseball. And this has proven to be a really big problem for the major and minor league, as 25% of the major league has had a common surgery that they call Tommy John, which is in your elbow but still affects your shoulder. And a lot of sports that deal with shoulder injuries are baseball, hockey, wrestling, football, softball, and rugby. And then lastly, head injuries. From a personal experience, they can be really bad, because I've had one and I didn't know I had one, because when it happened I blacked out. Nobody knew, because I was still standing, that I had a concussion and I would keep on playing. But some ways to get head injuries are improper tackling, head bouncing off the ground, or even a sudden impact of a punch. Some symptoms of having a concussion is blacking out, nausea, headache, hard time balancing, and even jumbled up speech. And like said earlier, once you have one concussion, you are more likely to get a second concussion, and your concussion can get worse by the second impact from getting re-hit. Common sports that deal with head injuries are soccer, rugby, hockey, football, and lacrosse. All in all, today I talked about how multiple injuries can happen in multiple sports and how they occur.